So, the first question was, where do I see the future of Japan blogging headed, and will it stay the same? I think the first thing that you have to consider when you think about this question is how far has it come so far. And I think there is still this image that people have of vlogging being, for example, the stereotypical dimly lit, terrible sound in a dark room with underwear and laundry hanging behind someone talking about their sick dog. I think that, and there are still vlogs like that out there. But I think what's already happened in the very short time, the 3 or 4 years that vlogs have really existed, is that we're in the beginning. That's what most people did, and there are only a few people who really figured out how to do really high quality vlogs which look like as good as professionally made. Everyone else who was making videos figured out very quickly what those people were doing that was right, and people have gotten very smart with their cameras and with their software and with lighting and with content, and the result is that now there are a lot of ordinary amateur vloggers, hobby vloggers, who are making videos consistently that are, they're almost impossible to distinguish from professionally made content. There are guys like Tokyo Kuni, for example, who regularly makes videos that look like they could be professionally made, and that trend of that improvement in quality, I think, will continue. So, in terms of where it's heading, I think there's two things that you really have to consider in terms of how it's likely to continue to evolve. And your guess is as good as mine, but in terms of from where I sit and where I see things going, there's two areas that you have to consider. One is the format, and two is the style. And so in terms of the format, what we're talking about here is there are two really distinct formats that exist in Japan. There is the format that foreigners tend to prefer, which is the YouTube-based blogging, promotion through Twitter and Facebook, for example, the social media type vlogging, and of course regular blogging through WordPress and Blogspot, which follows a model of basically being very open, of showing your face, of sharing a lot of personal information, spreading things virally through networks that are basically open to anybody. The idea of trying to reach as many people as possible being the priority, and trying to get your name or your online identity out there. What's interesting is that that's where foreign vloggers in Japan and foreign bloggers in Japan, that's the route that they take. Whereas Japanese vloggers and bloggers take a very different route. In Japan, there's a much higher degree of paranoia about things being too open and about privacy being too compromised. And there's a high priority put on anonymity, online, basically not being able to be identified online. And that's reflected in the philosophy of sites like, for example, Mixi and Nikodoga, where content creators often aren't even identifiable as who they are. And it's within that freedom, again, people trying to protect their anonymity, that rather than making videos of their face and trying to promote their sort of persona, they actually, it's very cool, they tend to focus more on making computer graphics and animations, or doing editing videos, which kind of push copyright lines, but they're genuinely creative, original works where they combine music and popular media images and so on. And they've created these whole memes, these whole separate subgenres of video making, which are spreading from Japan out into the internet. And you can see how that whole culture and approach of the internet has spread overseas, for example, through the uptake of 4chan in the States, which is a spin-off of 2chan, and causing the same chaos over there that's been known to cause over here. In terms of which way this will go, I know that YouTube, for example, and American-based sites are trying very hard to make their sites very language and Japanese-friendly, and going all the way in, for example, for automatic translation features and so on, hoping that will draw more Japanese participation. I think at the same time, you'd be surprised how, I think with the disasters that have happened, for example, with Google Buzz, and anyone who uses Facebook, I think, knows someone who's been stalked by an ex-boyfriend, and you hear about how girls who have this sort of problem, and just how the systems are a little bit too open. And it's possible that if we go back into protecting people's identity more online, we could end up with a model that looks more like the Japanese model, which is part of the popularity, I think, of how 4chan has been so successful in the States. And so who knows, we could end up with a model that looks more like Nikodoga. So yeah, who knows? It'll probably be somewhere in between, I think, in terms of the format. And yeah, and as I mentioned before, the other way to look at how things are evolving is style. And I kind of just touched on this before, how again, Japanese people tend to prefer to remain anonymous. There are some great Japanese vloggers like Jit Daisuke and Hiroko Channel and that Japanese girl who are on YouTube and making great vlogs. But generally speaking, the people over there, they make, for example, rather than putting their faces on videos, they make mashup videos where they take anime and movie shots and they mix it with music, and they remix the music themselves. And some people, they make music, or they use computer graphics, or they take all of these other genres which don't involve putting your face on and putting your identity on. Now, I think that's actually pretty cool in some ways, and that content gets ported over to YouTube sometimes, and some of those people up in, if you ever look at the intro to my video, that was given to me by someone who apparently used to know me in New Zealand, and they won't still tell me who they are. But it's this kind of thing which is increasing now, where shy Japanese people who are great with graphics and great with editing are now linking up with YouTube people and collaborating, sharing content, so that we can have graphics and we can have video content and we can mash it all together and make an even better product. And I think that's good. Well, the two trends are going to continue. There are going to be more Japanese who are going to get brave and go and make YouTube vlogs like this. And I think there are going to be more foreigners who are going to already, like the MAD style, the MAD style of anime music mashups is becoming very popular in the States. And there's going to be a lot more people who figure out that you don't just have to put your face on a video in order to make cool videos and be creative online. I think ultimately there's a really exciting future of more community-based interaction through videos and collaborative video making, where people from all sorts of genres, not just, for example, computer graphics and animation, along with video people, but and within video, of course, you have the art video sort of genre as well as the vloggers, but also musicians. There's people who, for example, you can go onto Jamendo nowadays and find user-generated musicians who want to collaborate and get their music spread around on videos, who, again, like video makers. Now, some of them you can't really even tell that they're not commercial, professional musicians, and they're happy to do this. So I think there's a really exciting future ahead with a format which allows people to be more collaborative, and again, will continue to push the quality of video making. And who knows which balance that's going to be, whether it's going to be more like the Japan model or the American model, but whoever gets it right is going to be very rich, because it's a growing and it's a very exciting genre, and it's probably eventually going to replace television.